We are here talking Lions news for you folks today, and we're going to be going over, some of the impressions that took place with quarterback Hendon Hooker in minicamp and OTAs. What is his trajectory going right now? Added strength, built muscle for Jameson Williams, really helping him out so far this offseason. What does it mean? Lions Aidan Hutchinson, he's looking like he's taking that next step, looking really, really good. Can't wait to talk about it. Penei Sewell being compared to an all-time great tackle. We're going to get to that. And biggest questions facing the Lions this offseason. Let's go. If you're a fan of the Detroit Lions, subscribe to the channel. If you are a fan of Herman Moore, subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan of other Lions content creators, because they're going to start putting their content on here too, subscribe. You're going to get different views. That's what we're going to be doing, and it's going to be awesome. Lions impressed by the demeanor of Hendon Hooker. Look, Hendon Hooker has struggled a little bit here in OTAs and minicamp, a little bit inaccurate, getting butt chewed by Ben Johnson and head coach Dan Campbell. And Hendon Hooker stays the exact same. He is a humble guy, and he's keeping his stuff together, even though he's trying to, get through some of these bad habits that's taking place right now. And that's what you want a quarterback. They're strong and level-headed, even when they're getting chewed up and spit out. That's the whole point, right? You got to be able to have that level head and continue to make strides. And the coaching staff is very impressed with Hendon Hooker's ability to put in the work and make those strides. And that's awesome. That's what the quarterback is supposed to be. I'm glad we don't have a controversy on any of the quarterbacks on this football team. Not talking about, just controversy itself. And Hendon Hooker, he should be pretty good to go by the time the regular season begins. But are you impressed with Hendon Hooker? What is your thoughts about this man? Let's go in the comments below. Jameson Williams adding a lot of muscle and strength to his game this offseason, and you can tell OTAs and minicamp he's being more physical, and that's what you want to see from this wide receiver. That's not really what he's known from Alabama, but he is a Detroit Lion, and Detroit Lions, Dan Campbell likes physical wide receivers. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a fighter, and he's scrappy when he's on the line of scrimmage and when he's fighting for the football getting thrown his way. Jameson Williams not known for that, but guess what? He started to do it at the end of the year, and he's really doing that right now in the off season. So one of the biggest things that was a strength, Randle L said, in terms of route running, not getting pushed off the spot, you see show up more and more, which is going to benefit us in the offense to see what's take it to another level. 100%. Wide receivers, you got to beat your man at the line of scrimmage. You got to be able to get that first step. You got to be able to break away. You got to be able to have excellent route running, be physical in the run game as a wide receiver, as well as catching the football, and that's what he's doing. I mean, you've seen it. You've seen the progress in season. You're seeing the progress in OTA's minicamp. Continues on, it helps him just to get in and out of routes. The strength that is built in his legs, you can see a difference 100%. And that's why I always talk about, I like to get players that are not too scrawny, right? They could put up muscle if they need to, but they got some beef on them, and this is the reason why is fighting off blocks and fighting on your routes as a wide receiver. Got to have some sort of muscle. Got to be able to push the defender off you and get him off you and get away from him. And there's a lot of physical guys out there. Jameson Williams, he was more known as a slender speedster, but now he's really taken his game to the next level, a more physical and a route runner. And you can benefit Dan Campbell for this, but I think another person that should take a lot of benefit is Amon-Ra St. Brown. The way this man practices, doing over 200 snaps a day of catching the football. This guy is physical. He puts in his craft. He is someone that people will learn off of, and I think Jameson Williams is. You got Aleem McNeil that wanted to take his game up next year, got physical. What does Broderick Martin do? The same thing this offseason. Same with St. Brown. What does Jameson Williams do? The same thing. Physical, and they're working off each other. And that just spells great news for the Detroit Lions and the rest of this football team when everybody is buying in. Jameson Williams was known as, for whatever reason, I don't even know where this came from because he's not that. He was known as a diva. When we drafted him, there's a lot of crazy stuff that came out that was just overblown, and he's not that way. He's a humble dude. and he's working his craft to be a better receiver for the Detroit Lions. That's all we can ask for. And then he's doing that. So he's taking the strides. Maybe he's a little bit slower than we would have liked, right? Because year one, he didn't play. Year two, the suspension and slowly getting on there. But he's developing. And everyone goes at a different time. Everybody takes a little bit of time to doing that. It's year three. This is development year. Jameson Williams should have no problem now, getting up more yards and being more of a player that defense has got to prevent for. They actually got to go ahead and scheme against Jameson Williams instead of, he's just another guy. So that's a really good thing for this football team, and everybody's buying in, everybody's physical. You have to be a certain type of player to be a Detroit Lion. Jameson Williams, instead of fighting that, is jumping in that. So let me know in the comment section right now. Are you worried about Jameson Williams? Why for yes? Are you not like me? And for no? Blow up the comment section. Aidan Hutchinson's been having a phenomenal spring. And I was rewatching some games last year, particularly the end of the games, or the end of the season games. I went over, I'd probably say I went over about 5 of the last games, and then in the postseason, the 3 playoff games. One thing that I noticed about Aidan Hutchinson, the end of the year, he was refining his spin move, and it was really working. He was getting off blocks, and that's, I think, what helped him start to get those double sacks at the end of the year. He made another move in his pass rushing skill set, and now it's even better. It's improving, right? So now he is absolutely breaking and beating the tackles and being what we expected him on that third-year jump. I think he's going to be really good this year. I'm thinking 15 sacks. Really excited for Aidan Hutchinson. You see his body go from a rookie to more physical the last year, and you're going to see him look like freaking Wolverine by the end of this one. And boy, oh boy, I think he's going to have a phenomenal year, and he could be up there for Defensive Player of the Year if the trajectory keeps going. If he starts impacting the game, early on, like he did the end of last year, and it is in the continue on from John Macron talking about how unbelievable he has been, it's going to be great news for the Lions on that defensive line because we need it. Terrell Williams, remember, they picked this guy up to help teach the defensive line, and you're seeing improvements. You're seeing a lot of improvements. So could Terrell Williams be the Ben Johnson of the defensive line? We'll see. But I expect big things from Hutch. And I expect him to take even a bigger jump than last year. And I agree that he has been outstanding. Bet on him to get some big-time sacks here. Penei Sewell reminded me a lot of a Hall of Famer, Joe Thomas. Oh, my goodness. When you're getting compared to Joe Thomas, especially by Hank Fraley, that is the best possible comparison you can get compared to. Joe Thomas was the greatest left tackles ever. Cleveland Browns, unfortunately, he was a player that was for Cleveland. He was one of the greatest offensive linemen of all time, but unfortunately for him, they didn't do anything over there in Cleveland. They said it reminds me a lot of Joe Thomas, just how he prepares, how he takes care of himself. His mentality, mind, makeup, and going out there, daily grind, become a good player, a great player like Joe, Fraley said. So that's when I get to see the daily competition with himself and everybody else out there. Doesn't stop. He is, to me, he's the best tackle in football. Penei Sewell is always on the field like Joe Thomas. He is the best at his position like Joe Thomas. He's always playing like Joe Thomas. He's a mean SOB on the field, nice off the field like Joe Thomas. The comparison is perfect. And when you're a lineman and you get paired to Joe Thomas, that's why you got paid big money. That's why Penei Sewell got paid buku amount of money, because this guy is a Hall of Famer. Okay, if he continues to play like he does for the next 7 years, he's going to be a Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer. In the Detroit Lions, we get Hall of Famers here. And we're not going to waste his talent either. This team's a good team. Unlike years past where Calvin Johnson, Barry Sanders, and Jason Hanson, we have missed out on a lot of good talent in Detroit, Hall of Fame talent, and they never did anything. This can be different for Penei Sewell. That era of not having any success is over in Detroit. Question: do you like the comparison of Penei Sewell to Joe Thomas? Why for yes and for no? Let us know in the comments below. Pride Detroit, Miko is funny. Miko is actually a YouTuber before he joined Pride Detroit. I've been on his podcast a couple times, and vice versa. Really good dude. Go ahead and listen to the podcast on Pride of Detroit. Miko, he knows what he's talking about. Good content creator. Happy that he got the job Pride of Detroit about over a year ago. Talking about the unknowns, and go ahead and watch the video right there on Pride of Detroit. They're doing their good job right there. And yeah, I think the biggest question is the secondary, right? I don't know if it's the biggest question. I think it's a question. I'm pretty good to go with the secondary from what I'm hearing in OTAs and minicamp. Honestly, I think it's going to be a really good group. I'm not too worried about it. But who is going to be the starters, one or two, right? Terrion Arnold and Carlton Davis, they're going to be the starters. It's 1 and 2. And I do think that then Meek Robertson and Brian Branch, one of those guys will be the nickel. They'll use Brian Branch everywhere. I'm not too worried about the secondary, but it is still waiting to see who's the starters. I think the defensive line, can they break out? Can Terrell Williams do what we need him to do with these players on this defensive line? Can somebody break out opposite of Aidan Hutchinson? Agood is doing that right now, and I tell you what, keep a name on this guy. I know he's not a big name, but he's impressing, and we need to see what this defensive line can do. And I think the next biggest question, probably the last one, is the kicker. Who's going to win the kicker job and wide receiver 3? Those guys are there, but I'll go with kicker. I do think Khalif is probably going to win 3. Donovan will be 4. So we'll go with the kicker here. Who is going to be the kicker? Is it going to be Turner, Badgley, the Lions sign Bates? I don't know. So we'll see who's going to be the Lions starting kicker. I still give the edge to Michael Badgley, but we don't know yet. Those are questions for sure. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Why is that? Because we talk Lions news and rumors 24/7. With that said, folks, adios.